Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. Happy Friday, the week is over, bring on the weekend, and Newcastle have got another game. We take on Southampton on Sunday, 2 o'clock kickoff at St James's Park. That will be our third game in a week. We won the first one, 6-1 against Spurs. We won last night against Everton, 4-1. What will the score be this weekend? We will get onto the predictions at the end of this video, but wow, what a game it was last night. I was going to start listing players off there of how good some of the guys were, but generally speaking, everyone was great. We started off a little bit slow, a little bit rickety. In fairness to Everton, they really pushed us from the start, but we kept our composure. We rode it out, and then going into the second half, we know with this Eddie Howe side, we've got the physicality, we've got the endurance, and most of all, we've got the quality. You know, we were the better side yesterday, and yes, they pushed on us from the start, but we took it in, got a goal at a good time from Wilson going into the second half, and then we just took over. And as I say, I cannot wait to get back to St James's Park this weekend. Really knocking on that Champions League place door. I'll let you guys let me know if you think it's done down below. I dare say anything until it's official with Newcastle, even though that is the old mentality. That is nowadays. You know, there's a lot more going on right now. But anyway, in today's video, we will talk about Newcastle. We will talk a bit about Southampton. Eddie Howe has done his press conference ahead of the game on Sunday, talking about Alexander Isak and comparing him to Thierry Henry. In fairness, it's mostly the media who have done the comparisons, but Eddie Howe was asked about it, and he agreed. So we'll talk about that. He's talked a little bit about some injury news as well, saying that Maxi could well be out for the rest of the season. Meanwhile, Maxi's posting on his Instagram videos of him running around and training. So maybe a little bit of a little bit of disparity there on maybe what Eddie Howe means. I think what Eddie Howe is probably referring to is his level of fitness. I think Maxi's probably alright. It's just, is he there for Eddie Howe to play him? But of course, with a player like Maxi, it's brought on a few questions. And as always, we will talk about the lineups and get our predictions in for the game this Sunday. So We'll carry on talking about Newcastle first. As I say, we haven't been too bad of late, have we? Except for that Villa game, which, you know, it's easy to say in hindsight, but maybe that was the loss that really gave us the kick up the backside to push us on to what has been two amazing results of late. I think we'll be back at St James's Park this weekend. We'll have the crowd back on our side. I mean, the crowd definitely weren't on our side in the Everton game, but still, you know, I've heard people talking about the fact that is that great preparation for a Newcastle side who could well be playing away in Europe next season. You know, you can quite often go to some quite hostile places. You know, we had it in our ears last night, and we seem to manage just fine. Great credits going out there to players like Willock, who were amazing. Isak, as I've mentioned already, the assist that he scored, one of the best, and the fact that it didn't even go down as his assist because it actually hit off the player on the way through, but still, huge credit for him. And now it's, as I say, I think doing the same thing this Sunday as we've been doing all season. You know, we've lost 4 times this season. Wow. It's not bad going, is it? Compared to Southampton, who have lost a fair few more times more than 4 this season. They are not doing great. They are currently bottom of the league. 6 points from safety right now with 5 games to go. I mean, it is tight down there. We know in the Premier League as Newcastle fans over the last few seasons, we've known all too well how tight it can be down at the bottom of the league. Southampton are experiencing that this season, and it ain't looking good. If you're going to put a bet on Southampton staying up, you'll probably get some decent money back, because at the moment they are looking set to go down to the Championship. I think Southampton are a side who have brought some good players into the Premier League. You talk about Bale, Van Dijk, Mane, Tadic, Wanyama. I mean, there's a list there. I mean, the joke is Lallana, although he kind of fell off a little bit after he left Southampton. But still, you've seen the lineups of teams of the past and what they could have had, and that's what I'm getting onto, is the fact that they have sold those players, and there's always question marks of the Southampton model of kind of bringing players in, letting them go. I mean, let's be honest, you look over in Spain, like Seville, Villarreal, some of these teams have done very well by selling players on and still do. Atletico Madrid, for not too long ago, made a really good way of selling players to some of the bigger sides and still qualifying for Champions League or European football every season. So, it's not a bad model to have. The difference between the Spanish League and the Premier League, the English League, is that in Spain, the bottom of that league really is yo-yoing up and down between the divisions. In the Premier League, it's not that way. And if you sell 1, 2, 3 of your best players and you don't replace them, you will struggle and you will go down, and it's not that easy to come back up. So, you know what? I've got no feelings with regard to Southampton either way, to be honest. I wish them the best of luck, but I'm really hoping we can beat them this Sunday. They're a team low on confidence. We are flying. They need to get something. They need to start picking up results. I think they'll have a tough job of getting a result in this one. And Eddie Howe obviously spoke about the fact that it has been a quick turnaround for Newcastle. As I say, 3 games in 7 days. He actually hinted at some potential rotation coming into this one, so we'll talk about that when we get onto the lineups. We did see rotation into the Everton game. We saw Wilson come back in. We saw Almiron come in. We actually saw Target get his first start, I was going to say in a very long time, all season. Yeah, it hasn't been much game time for Target. I thought he did okay. Got out-muscled on the wing by Iwobi, I remember, and but generally speaking, I thought his passing out the back was decent. But yes, that was because Eddie Howe was referred to a couple of injuries. As I've mentioned, Maxi's the one that's kind of grabbed the headlines. Eddie Howe kind of hinting at the fact that the hamstring issue has been a little bit worse than first thought, saying that I certainly hope he will be fit before the end of the season. But with hamstring injuries, there's always an element of doubt. Meanwhile, Maxi's posted on his Instagram him running around the garden and doing training as he would normally, sprinting up and down, and people are going, well, Eddie Howe's saying this, Maxi's saying that, what's actually happening with that guy? And I think with Maxi, the question marks are always there of, is he linked to leaving? He was linked last summer, he was linked in January. I've got no doubt he'll be linked to leaving again this summer, and people are saying, is Eddie Howe saying one thing and is Maxi saying another? I think it's probably because Maxi's working dead hard to try and get fit again so he can play this season. And Eddie Howe's standing on the side of caution, doesn't want to say to. Eddie Howe could say that and then he plays on Sunday anyway. I think Eddie Howe changes what he says every time to keep everybody guessing, but I think it's more the fact that Eddie Howe wants Maxi to not just be that fit, he wants him to be here. We've seen the likes of Gordon come in. Good laugh when he got brought on with 5 minutes to go against Everton. Why not? But we haven't seen as much of him, Eddie Howe, as I'd thought. Now, is that actually a positive? Because it means that players like Murphy, Almiron are all playing so well. We haven't needed him yet. But also, is it because he's not where Eddie Howe wants him to be yet? And really, you thought we would have seen more of him by now, thinking it's the end of April. We bought him in January. We still haven't really seen him. There's only 6 games left to go now. So could we see him this weekend? We'll wait and see. Isak, yes. So Eddie Howe was asked about Alexander Isak and the comparisons that have been made to Thierry Henry. I mean, that he's just, everything he's doing at the moment just turning to gold, isn't it? You talk about Longstaff's in great form. Murphy's been in great form. Some of those guys that I think are just playing at their top level. Obviously, Bruno is world class. Joe Linton is becoming, or if not already, world class. We've got some really good players in there. And you talk about, as I've mentioned it before, I mentioned it yesterday, Murphy buzzing for him. He's playing so well. I think he's playing above where he is. I think his confidence pushing him that high. I just think Isak is that good. He's just there. And it's taken a bit of time to try and get him into these games. He had the injury, then he had a concussion, and it's trying to get him some regular game time so he can start showing what he's got. And let's not forget, first year in the Premier League from a player from a different country can usually take time as well. And I think so you can lay it down to a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of whatever. But now that he is getting some good game time, my God, he just turns, doesn't he? And I can't help it, because Wilson is doing amazing as well, and between the two of them rotating, two strikers and the form of their lives, playing them, it's pretty good. It's a good option to have the both of them, but I can't help but do it every time Callum Wilson turns the ball and he's a little bit slower. Every time Callum Wilson's running after a long ball, I'm going, well, if that was Isak on the pitch, he would have caught that one, which is probably a bit harsh, but I just think that now that Isak's just getting a bit more of that game time, and we're not having to overplay him, it's kind of just working at this perfect little matchup where we're not having to overplay either of them. We can pick the player that suits the game. We're bringing Isak on as a sub, and he's still making a huge impact. And he's, as I say, being compared to Thierry Henry. And look, Thierry Henry was a fantastic footballer for Arsenal. The numbers he got in the Premier League were insane. Not quite as good as Shearer, but was still very, very good. And I've no doubt Isak will take it as a huge compliment to be compared to a player like him. Eddie Howe said that I can see the comparisons. He has some characteristics that Thierry had. The speed, similar build and frame. The assist last night was remarkable, and he can still get better, which I don't doubt. To be honest, I honestly think we are just scratching the surface with Alexander Isak, and you can only imagine, stepping into Champions League games. It's going to be a real step up for a lot of our players, and I think going into the summer window, really having to help add to the squad to compete in multiple competitions. But I cannot wait to see some of these guys, after what a remarkable Premier League season we've had, step up and see what we can kind of do in European football as well. But first, we've still got a few games to go, and we've got the Southampton game this weekend. In terms of lineups, I will put mine on screen now. Be sure to let me know yours down below. As I've mentioned already with Eddie Howe, I'll just keep guessing every week, and I'll keep getting it wrong, to be honest, because I did not expect to see Target start. I thought it was a surprise to see Almiron start actually in the last game. And I thought that bringing Wilson back in, but as I've said, he's mixing and matching, and it's working. I have kept Pope in goal. I've put Burn back in because of the fact that Target started the last one. I think he could well go back with Burn this weekend. I've also kept Trippier, Shaw, and Botman. Question marks around Shaw. The poor bloke seems to get an injury every game at the moment. He's battling on through. And with 3 games in a week, is this an opportunity to rest one of the two for a Lascelles? As much as I know, and I do as well, I don't want to really let my foot off the pedal in any of these games until we've confirmed Champions League football. And then the last 2 or 3 games, if I want to mix and match it with Lascelles and Mankey or whoever, then I'm actually fine with that, to be honest. But until we get that confirmation that we are there, I do hesitate to mix it up. But even when Lascelles has come in, I think when he's been around other players, he's done okay. So I won't worry about it too much, but I've kind of kept the same back 5, if you will. In the midfield, I've kept it the same there as well. Bruno, Longstaff's been great. Longstaff was another player who picked up a knock in the game last night, which I still question whether it was a penalty, to be honest. Keane has just totally taken Longstaff out with none of the ball in the box. Pickford's trying to push him off the pitch as well. It's a good job we won, and we don't have to talk about that anymore. But I tell you what, if we hadn't won, or if it had been a draw, there'd be a lot more of contest on that, I think. And Willock, who's also been great, Joe Linton was moved out to the left, and he's doing great, so I don't really see us changing any of those players. And you think to who we could change them with. Could you bring Gordon in on the left-hand side, move Joey back into the middle, give Longstaff a break, or Willock a break? I can't see us ever dropping Bruno, to be honest. So there is a bit of mix and match there. You could talk about Anderson, but I still just think that, yes, it's been a busy week. I think that because we were winning at the end of the game, we were able to make a few subs to give a couple of players like rest, so they weren't playing the full 90 minutes. But I have made changes to the right wing and in the middle, as I've mentioned. The rotation of Isak and Wilson's working great. So is it Isak to start again after coming on, making a great impact? Look, Wilson scored 2 goals, but it won't be the first time he's scored 2 goals and been dropped for the next game. So I think we could see it again. And then on the right-hand side, I put Murphy in. I thought Almiron did okay. If I'm totally honest, Murphy came on and scored. Murphy was really good in the Spurs game. Almiron came in for this one. I think in the time Almiron was on the pitch, it was a lot quicker. They were pressing us a lot more. I don't think Almiron was able to make quite as much of an impact as maybe he would have liked coming back into the side. And then by the time Murphy came on, we were kind of taking over the game. So, I could be, to try and give Almiron a little bit of help in comparing the two, I would say that Murphy kind of came on at the end of the game and we were already doing better and we were winning. I think Almiron had the tougher side of it, having to press. But it's not to say that Murphy didn't come on and do great, which is why I've popped him back in the squad. So that's the 11 that I've gone for. As I've said, we'll actually find out when Eddie Howe tells us on Sunday, because there's always something to surprise us. In terms of a prediction, I'm back in Newcastle. At the end of the day, I've shown it already. We've been great this season. We've only lost 4 games all season. Our form of late has been tremendous. 10 goals this week already. I think the days of clean sheets every game seem to have slowly faded away, which isn't as good. But, how many can we make it in 7 days? 11 goals? 12 goals? 13? 14, 15. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to back it. I'm not going to go mad with it. I'm going to go 3-0. Bring us back the clean sheet. I think Southampton will come to Newcastle knowing that they're probably going to defend. And at times that can actually make it tougher for us. If you think Everton were going for it, and which opened up space, it helped us. I think if Southampton come in, seeing what happened to Spurs a week ago, Christ, okay, well, let's just put a back line of 11 players and just don't concede in the first 15 minutes. I can fully expect that from Southampton this weekend, and they'll have in their heads, the longer we can hold it at 0-0, last 10 minutes, right, just lump the ball up, let's just try and grab a winner. So that would be my expectation of what they'll do, and because of that, it might be not be quite as easy for us to just break them down from minute 1. But never say never, and hopefully we can get a few more goals. Alright guys, thanks for watching. That was the Newcastle versus Southampton preview. Predictions down below. Drop a like, subscribe if you're still watching. I know loads of you guys are watching my videos pretty much every day or every other day, but haven't hit that subscribe button. And we are pushing ever closer to 50,000 subscribers, which is amazing. I will have the usual pre-match chat, match day vlog, reaction videos after the game against Southampton at the weekend. And as always, hopefully it's a good one. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.